The Talking Cheeseheads on CheeseheadTalk.com.
Yes, Talking Cheeseheads Friday. Happy it's here, weekend almost here. Next week, by the way, we will be touching on the draft a few times. I have, Reed, you're going to love this. I have Ted Thompson audio. A ton of it. Just scintillating audio. And I know that, again, I've learned my lesson here. We'll have to bring the audio up toward the end of the show because I don't think Cheesehead Nation can take an entire half hour of you doing Ted Thompson. That's just my guess.
Once you play Ted Thompson, I can't go back.
No.
What?
I know.
No.
It's a little scary.
I love the guy.
So we got that coming up next week.
Okay.
I know. Say nothing. Just don't do anything right now. All right, so we got that coming up next week. That's the draft talk. Obviously, a lot of news happened with the Packers because Clay Matthews signs. You've got the big contract. You got Aaron Rodgers supposedly going to be having the same type of huge contract, or a lot bigger actually, at some point. But here today, the annual rite of passage, I guess, in the world of Packer Nation or any football nation, the schedule's released. Okay. And there's not much. There's not much to talk about, Reed, except just a few things. One, the Lions on Thanksgiving Day again? You don't say. Because that's seemingly every other year now. Why can't we get the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day one of these years? Seriously.
It's become a biannual tradition, Ben. Basically, when the Lions play an NFC team, they play the Packers. Which is fine because the Lions like to lose on Thanksgiving Day. The Cowboys tend to win occasionally. So I'd rather play the team that wants to lose every Thanksgiving than the team that wants to win once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all remember the Jason Garrett game, right?
Very, very much so. Yeah, that little punk. He's not even a good coach. The Packers get up. That was a miserable game. That was bad. That was miserable. So they got the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Okay. You've got San Francisco. This will be the big focal point because it's the NFL gives the Packers and the Packer fans kind of a gift that they've made no secret of the fact that all they've been doing all offseason is trying to figure out that gosh dang read option. And they get a chance to do it in Candlestick on opening day. I'm kind of surprised it's not the Sunday night game, but they get a 3:25 start our time. Is that September 8th? So, synchronize your watches, Packer fans. You get to see Colin Kaepernick. Good news is there's no Eric Walden to get completely sucked in, by the read option.
Right, but there's also no other outside linebacker, I think, on the roster. Oh, I'm sorry, there's Nick Perry, who we saw for 15 plays last year. I mean, this schedule, Ben, it gives me concern here in mid-April if you take a look at it. So it's not just Colin Kaepernick, but it's RG3 the next week. Now it's at home, so you'd like to think that they could beat the Redskins at home, but it's that same sort of attack. And you could argue RG3 is maybe a better passer of the football even than Colin Kaepernick, or at least works through his reads better. So it's not just going to be Colin Kaepernick the first week. It's going to be RG3 the second week, and they're going to have to figure out a way to defend a mobile quarterback in a read option set. And then after that, you go to Cincinnati, which was a playoff team now 2 years in a row. So, and then you get a bye week, your fourth week. And I hate that. I hate the bye week, your fourth week. There's no chance to establish momentum, and it comes at a time when, well, at least the Packers like to get injured early and often. But you would hope there won't be that many injuries. You could take advantage of the bye week to get through. So if you just look at the way this lays out the first 5 weeks, it would take a lot of work for the Packers to muster a winning record their first 5 weeks of the season. Now we know that same kind of situation happened last year, and they were able to rally at the end of the season. Yeah. But you have at San Francisco, you have Washington at home, at Cincinnati, Detroit at home, and at Baltimore. You win your home games, you lose your road games there to 3 playoff teams, 2 of which played in the Super Bowl last year. That's not a great way to start the season for the Packers, especially with no significant free agent acquisitions in the offseason.
No, and there are not going to be any significant free agent acquisitions, obviously, with Ted Thompson. Probably never. But, I mean, I see what you're saying. Although, here's the one thing. Everybody assumes that RG3 is back. Am I missing something? It's not a given that the guy's going to be back. I mean, I'm not sure I want to face it's Kirk Cousins, right? Am I already forgetting the guy's name from Michigan
Cousins.
State?
Yes.
I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to face him either. Just having Badger flashbacks here, but the guy ripped up his knee pretty hardcore. Who's to say if he comes back he won't do it again in week 1 because he probably hasn't learned his lesson. But right. I just I'm not so sure that he's going to be back. And even if he is back, not everybody. So there's one Adrian Peterson that comes along, and it was last year where guys aren't at least a little bit tentative. So I don't. That game doesn't intimidate me too much, and I don't think you would expect the Packers necessarily to lose that one either, because you just talked about winning the home games. What bothers me is the early bye again. That's probably the biggest bugaboo. I hate that. I mean, last year, what was it, week 9 or 10, and now it's week 4. I mean, that sucks. That's way too early. I don't like the fact they even have byes that early.
Remember when they used to do 2 byes and they had the 18-game season? I mean,
yeah.
Why was it? It wasn't terrible, Ben.
I don't like 2 weekends off, man. I want football every weekend.
Well, you have football an extra weekend. You get 18 weeks of it. How about this? 19 games
every weekend. I think they're only
19-game season, 17 games, 2 byes for each team.
I'm thinking about it.
Yes. No.
I got to think more about it. I think that's only 1 year they did the 2 byes.
I know it fell apart, but started on Labor Day weekend too. This whole waiting until Sunday, September 8th. It's too late.
Yeah.
But the early buys a concern. You take a look at the rest of the schedule, and you see, it's weird because we kind of got used to the Packers either having a 2 or 3 game home stretch or a 2 or 3 game road stretch. This season, other than Chicago and Philadelphia back to back, a Monday night and a noon game on Sunday, it's every other week. They're either home or away.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a schedule sort of this regular and balanced in a long time. The other thing you don't get in the schedule that you're used to seeing in Green Bay are a lot of December home games. You're home against Atlanta on Sunday night, December 8th, so that's a good place to play Atlanta, although you've never had a concern playing down there in the Georgia Dome, really.
Yeah.
But then you go to Dallas, you have Pittsburgh back at home, so not much of an advantage there in terms of a home field, and then you're at Chicago. I mean, that's a tough way to finish this season as well. I think they're going to be a good team, but I don't think they got necessarily a great schedule in front of them to either build momentum at home, take advantage of their home field, or to start off strong.
Well, maybe, but again, given the NFL these days, you just don't. You have no idea. We look at it here in April, and we're basing everything off last season's teams. And what looks like a tough stretch now might not be something. Who's to say that even Baltimore is going to be all that tough of a game? Maybe they lose kind of the momentum they had with the guys leaving and retiring, and it's not that bad. You just don't know.
Or gain momentum by signing Elvis Dumervil.
Yeah.
And other good players.
Well, he's good.
But no, free agency is not a way. Free agency is not a way to win Super Bowls. That doesn't work. You need to find 44% of your roster through undrafted free agency means.
Well, I think it's going to go up because Ted Thompson loves all the potential stock of undrafted players this year.
I heard Ted Thompson actually gave the NFL back their draft picks. He was like, you know what, I don't even want these draft picks because that's just going to take up room on my roster for guys I can just sign to free agent contracts. And
no, actually, you almost heard that right. What he actually did was he gave the NFL the entire draft in exchange for every pick in the 7th round. He gets every pick in the 7th, and look out, Super Bowl, because for a few years here, it's all Packers.
I see a lot of value in the 7th round. I don't really see the value in the first rounds, but the 7th round, that's where I feel the real meat of this draft is. It's 7th round. Good stuff, Ted.
I was worried you were going to go there.
I went there.
It's pretty much.
That was Ted Thompson.
Yeah, so it was. It's very finest. So I see it. I think the main things to really focus on, because people like to break down the whole thing. I think the main things to focus on really are, like you mentioned, the first week or two and facing the read option, because you dwell on it all season. I saw it today. Mike McCarthy was thinking about what was it, 579 the yardage that they gave up.
Yeah.
To the 49ers in the playoff game. That's been the big rallying cry all offseason. Well, wow. I mean, here you go, and you get your shot. And it's, it's been opening day is opening day.
That's been the big rallying cry, and they signed a street free agent cornerback to solve all their issues. Like, no. We got this figured out. We got a guy. Okay. He was begging groceries. Yeah, okay, I get it. But he was really good at begging groceries, and we really think that he's going to be the run support we need on the back end. I mean,
he's not susceptible to the fix.
What the hell are they talking about?
They're trying to get better internally. Really.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, Nick Perry's going to be there, and it's another year for Mike Daniels, and another year for Gerald Worthy. Well, yeah, it's another year that Ryan Pickett's going to get older too. I mean,
yeah.
Look, I know they have a plan. I know they have a strategy. But I just love the fact that they rally around these things from last year, and they literally do nothing on this team other than lock up Clay Matthews and Aaron Rodgers. Maybe their plan is to just play 2-on-11, and they're gonna put Clay at center, and he's gonna snap it to A-Rod, and then he's gonna go out on a pass, and then a defense is gonna be kind of tricky. But they have a whole system planned out because that's where they're putting all their salary cap space.
It's a psych package, right? Yeah. I will give some credence to internal improvement, because that they drafted this whole crop of guys who contributed last year, and now we'll see the improvement a year or two, and you should see some. But I agree with you. I mean, it's been a little frustrating, and there's no way from as far as I'm concerned. I mean, D is probably where they need the most help now, along with maybe defensive line. Oh, and linebacker. But you go in and you draft the best available here, and you see what happens next week, and then you try and get ready for week 1 because here comes the read option like a freight train right at you again. But it's a chance to prove. You can't put too much stock, I guess, in week 1. But boy, the storylines are certainly going to play out. They don't have to wait around at all. And here we go with Colin Kaepernick. If you haven't been sick of seeing him, I think it's kind of like 49er revenge for the 90s now, where the Packers used to kick the crap out of the 49ers every game in the 90s, and now here we come, a decade later, 2 decades later, whatever it is, and it's the 49ers' turn. I don't feel good about that game already. So we'll see. You probably don't either.
Who knows? Maybe last year, as good as we felt about that opening game and San Francisco punched them in the face, I mean, they did it twice last year. So maybe this year Green Bay actually, grows a pair collectively and does something, and they do it out in San Francisco. Really. And don't talk about how you're tough. Just actually be tough.
Be tough. Yeah, that's a good idea. Be the change you seek. We are the Talking Cheeseheads, so schedule's out, and now what's the next off-season date in the NFL we wait for? Well, the draft. Okay, after the draft, I mean. I don't know.
June bargain basement free agents. That's where Ted Thompson makes his mark.
Well, that's actually something to pay attention to. He has made his mark there, to be fair.
I like Duke Preston. He's kind of discarded by 14 other teams in the NFL, but we really think he's a good football player, despite what those 14 other NFL teams decided in minicamp. So he's going to be
it's a big boy league.
He's going to be our starting left guard, Duke Preston.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's an exciting time picking up all these players. Diamonds in the rough, baby. Right. We're the Talking Cheeseheads, cheeseheadtalk.com. We've got some other things to talk about, including, again, what's left on the list? Drunken pitchers and lesbians playing basketball, right?
Great.
I think so. We'll talk about it next on the Talking Cheeseheads.
Cheddar with attitude. The Talking Cheeseheads on cheeseheadtalk.com.